Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Transformation Leaders Podcast. My name is David. I'm joined today by my partner in crime, Mr. Sean over there. And today we wanted to talk to you about something, unfortunately, that is going to change and radicalize just about anything and everything that you've ever known to date when it comes to applications, software as a service. Everything is radically changing deeply. So I am going to introduce Sean and kick us off with this slide here to kind of walk us through a perspective analysis of what this means for you, us, and all of us.
Thank you. So one of the things that happened over the past month has been the advent of personal assistance agents. So it started out being called Claude Bot, but then Anthropic got mad because it has nothing to do with Claude AI. Then it became Malt Bot, and then now it has landed into OpenClaw. And a lot of people were very interested in this. What does it mean? And I wrote a blog for our day jobs, right, David? That kind of explained what that means for brands, but strategically, I really wanted to be able to share how I see this is going to play long term. And that's where this comes from, the death of the app and the rise of the outcome economy. Autonomous agents, personal autonomous agents are going to be a thing. This could very well be the replacement of the smartphone. So the smartphone, if you recall, did a lot of really good things. It allowed us to use one device for many, many, many features. And that each one of those features became an app. Now, autonomous agents are going to follow that same path, is my prediction. Today, maybe not today, but I wanted to go through and talk about a little putting on my cap and staring into the crystal ball. What is this all about? So let's start with, how these things adopted. I come from an area that when I started consulting, I had a pager. David, I don't know about you, but, this is where it started, sending phone numbers across. And then we had text ones, so we could send a small, short message. And then that was certainly replaced with the iPhone and the iPod. And so how BlackBerries came to market was all about status, having that connectivity and mobility. The iPhone kind of snuck in. A lot of the companies that I worked with didn't like the iPhones because they didn't have security control over them. They liked BlackBerries because they were an enterprise device. Well, the bring your own device solved that problem, and now BlackBerry is dead. I see the same thing that's happening in this agent area. Right now, you could go through and brands are creating agents that you could go talk to and do things with. Those you have 50 different brands that maybe you're a customer of. They'll all have an agent. What the future is going to be is that you are going to have a personal assistant. Now, what the value that it provides you is really the time. Imagine, if you will, all the digital chores you need to do. I need to set up a haircut appointment. I need to go through and I need to schedule my kid's birthday party. I need to go through and fill out my timesheet. I need to go through and check all my calendar invites for next week. Do I have everything that I need for those meetings ready to go? Having a personal assistant, as many of our executives do today, do a lot of this work. They look at your calendar, they look at what your emails are, they see what's going on in your life and try to make things easier. Now, Agentix really has the possibility of providing that in a virtual way. David?
Yeah, I came from law firms. So law firms were huge in the BlackBerry. I mean, it was like I don't know. If you had a BlackBerry, like you could, you could pretty much almost tell. I had a love-hate with those devices because I was able to be woke up in the middle of the night by notifications for servers and applications and other kinds of stuff because I was in IT at the time during my tour of duty for 12 years in enterprise legal. And the iPhones came in and they absolutely hated them for sure. And I can tell you then that led to what was it called? I can't even remember. Good Technologies. It was Master Multi-Device or Mobile Device Management, MDM. So MDM's got all these weird acronyms. And then, now all of a sudden we're here in AI and it's just like more of the same, rinse and repeat, consolidate, collapse. The only thing that's guaranteed in life is change. And so I don't see this going away anytime soon. And not to steal any thunder, because it's probably in our future slides. I had gone through all of the things that you created, but these agents, they're dangerous because every time somebody else comes up with a different way of orchestrating an agent or coming up with a new twist, something else, lo and behold, has been knocked off, or we read the news in the morning and all of a sudden a whole entire sector has been taken out because somebody figured out a new way to prompt an agent.
Absolutely. If you remember, this was very big about 10 years ago. There was Morning Brew. Do you remember Morning Brew and newsletters?
No.
Yeah, you would get an email and they would tell you everything that has gone on across the weekend every Monday morning. And then it became every day. And now every morning I wake up and what do I have? I have 10 newsletter that I'm trying to unsubscribe to that I can't unsubscribe for some odd reason. They keep sending me these newsletters. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. And this is going to be the replacement for that in the immediacy. So basically, the idea is look at the value you get out of getting an itinerary, right? Let's say we're talking travel and I get an itinerary and say, you're going to be here, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. And you have a lot of structure. Now, that is what the majority of people who go on vacations have. They have a bit of an itinerary and they do what they do. But for the rich and elite out there, they don't get an itinerary. They get a guy named Bob. And Bob picks him up at the airport, makes sure, hey, how's it going today? What are you interested in doing? And they know it all. And Bob is going to make sure that they get a great time, right? Because they know all the places. They know, like, hey, what do you like? What food do you like? What this do you like? You only got to talk to Bob. Bob is going to handle everything. This is what the future is going to look like. Everybody is going to have a personal guide that will make sure that they are saving money, that they are having the best experience, that they're going to have the best possible time and save time to boot. So the idea is it will know all your personalities. Like, so ClaudeBot is was the original name. OpenClaw is the current name. You set up a messaging account for this and you talk to it. You say, hey, I like this, I don't like this. And it starts asking you questions and it gets to know you. The more you talk to it, the more you say, I like this and I don't like this. This is the hyper-personalization that I know, David, how many times have we said hyper-personalization before? This is what everybody wants. And the problem with hyper-personalization in brands is that it's a privacy issue.
Yep. That's why I said not everybody. That was me. I was like, no, I don't want you taking and stealing and selling my stuff. We have enough bad data brokers.
So this is the inversion of that, right? So personally, I will have my own data, my own personalization information. I don't know, David, if you do this, but I do. I keep a text document that has all my background information, all my personalization information. And then when I am looking at, okay, I want to buy a Valentine's gift for my wife. Hopefully you all did that. My wife's birthday is in August. So, I got plenty of time, but I can provide all the things that I have done and said and all of my history. I can go to my AI flavor of choice, hit the privacy incognito mode and not log in, and send it the information and say, hey, I don't have anybody's name in here. I just have the details, and I can get an answer in a personalized way. This solves that by it's going to talk to me. It's going to record it. It's going to keep track of that text file for me. And then it's going to use AI anonymously to be able to do these things. Okay. So this is one of the problems that people have today with the brands that they have in technology is that it's all about the moats. It's all about the walled gardens. It's all about having brilliant marketing that will get people to give brands second, third, and fourth chances. Well, the simple fact of it all is these bots are not going to care about your marketing, right? It's going to look at things that whatever the user wants to care about. Price, right? Number one thing is going to be price. Number two is, do they have a history of delivering an excellent experience, right? And this means that these agents are just going to ignore whatever walls that you have in your garden and is going to deliver the best possible experience for the user, not for the brand. So huge change to this of today. And, it comes down to, before, we always heard we need to solve churn, right? This is the retention. We need to figure out a way to get people's attention because, we want them to come back to us. Why do they want to come back to us? Because there's probably a lot of bad CX out there, right? And so instead of solving CX problems, which is part of David and my job, they try to solve CX problems by more marketing spend. Well, this is going to terribly disrupt that. Your CX is going to become much more important because if it comes down to that brand disappoints the user, that user will tell the bot, I hate them and I never want to give them any money. Right? And so you have a bot will avoid every coupon you send at it. Everything. Because it was told, do not bring me that. Right? So this becomes a systemic and existential crisis for many brands out there. That all of a sudden your CX becomes the most important thing. You may only get one bite of the apple.
One of the things too, and I just want to go back to that data broker comment I made. So there's the other side of the coin in the equation too. And I had run across a couple of articles. I think it was LinkedIn from something I saw that had a joint effort with Apollo. So a lot of people are using Apollo IO. And if you're not familiar, it's a CRM / data brokerage / whatever platform and system. A lot of people use it in agentics and AI. It's really big in the N8N world and Flowise and a whole bunch of other stuff with writing regular geeky custom code. My point here is that in addition to the CX side of the coin, everything Sean's talking about, these type of platforms are going to be enriched with data brokerage libraries. And so you're going to have these centralized systems, centralized firms where you can just use an API, and these MCP servers are now all talking interchangeably. And there are credits given for basically brokering by selling sub pieces or components to your data. AI is behind the scenes organizing all of that. So it's a yin and a yang and a struggle, and it's a blessing or a curse, I guess, for both advertisers and people like you and me trying to buy stuff. So I do like Sean's idea of keeping that record of all of the information as far as personal preferences and going into incognito mode, because we may need to have different defenses on how we go ahead and we do this stuff. And just because you're paying for a subscription, you better read the fine print when you sign up for services, because now more and more we're going to start seeing privacy policies on websites being changed more loosely, I guess, to be able to capture, use, and share your data and information more and more. So learn to use AI to go through these privacy policies to look for this type of stuff. And, it's like the age-old problem when you go to install software. If you agree, you get to use the software. If not, you don't get to play. So it's up to you to decide whether or not. And I think most of us are going to be forced into complying irregardless, because we'll need to use it, whatever that is, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, with very few options coming along. So maybe, not to get religious, but maybe this is another mark of the beast type thing. You're not going to be able to buy, sell, or trade without your digital profile.
And again, OpenAI announced recently, and if you haven't watched the Super Bowl commercial from Anthropic, OpenAI is going to start doing ads. So everything that you were worried about with Google and ads, OpenAI is going to be doing with theirs. So this is the impact, though, of that kind of level of automation. Right now, if I'm watching something on TV and I'm like, you know what? I really didn't like that brand, but I really like the new menu item that they've released, and I want to try that. It would require me to talk to the agent and say, hey, reverse what I said. I like this. People aren't going to do that. It creates this huge wall so that the reliability of the services and experiences that you're providing to your customer are absolutely the paramount thing. Because if you have a bad reputation, and it's so bad that they tell, again, if I have a really good experience, I'm less likely to tell my family and friends about a really good experience than a really bad experience. This is just human nature. So it is a lot easier for things to go bad. And it means that you're going to have to work much harder on the forgiveness and make it easier for people to forgive you.
I want to add to that last slide too.
Oh, please.
At the very bottom of it, the reputational score. I want you to understand, in the world of marketing, in the world of digital technology, not having a reputation score is just as bad as having a bad reputation score. So you're going to have to do whatever you can to overcome those hurdles. I just wanted to clarify that, because it's a little bit more complicated than just maintaining good. It's very hard to get started, because without that established trust or social proof, it is going to be that much harder, especially with these AI agents and bots. They're going to see a zero reputation, and they're going to flag it as not necessarily high risk, but just somewhere in that medium risk area, because it's just like credit. If you try to go apply for credit and you don't have any credit, even if you've never took about a big loan, you're not necessarily a credit risk, but you're an unknown. And so unknowns are bad.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to the wall is going to be much harder to overcome. And what's more importantly, it's going to be harder to detect that a wall has been put up between you and your customer. So this is, like I said before, an existential crisis. The day of being able to just ship an app and then you can see what customers are doing on the app and you can understand, all that's going away, because AI assistants are going to do all that, and knowing the assistance patterns is not going to be valuable because they're not the ones making the decisions. they're the ones who are offering the options. So there's a new middleware coming between you and your customer. And this is really another thing that has been done is people are like, well, I'll just make it so the bots can't talk to my systems. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're not an option anymore. Yep. Right? Do you remember these wonderful things? I got to prove that I'm not a robot. Right? When all the robots are making the decisions and are finding all the information for the users, you're going to have to let them in. So you're going to need a new way, a new door for all these robots to work on. And we've talked about it several times. When it initially came out, we did a podcast about it. A lot of people don't talk about it enough, but this is MCP. So as I tell people, it is the USB-C for AI, right? It's how robots are going to plug in to your brand, and you're going to understand what people are looking for. And this is going to be the next website, the next app. You know, it's how AI is going to figure out what you're about and why. And you're going to have to, it's so crazy. You're going to have to convince AI, which you've been fighting to keep away from you, you're going to have to convince it that it should say nice things about you to its user. So you're going to have to sell your brand and your products and your services to the AI before the user can.
Let me add to that, and this is so on point with what just happened in the last 30 days. And I have you have a visual here on your screen, the Moltbot. So if anybody's familiar with Moltbook, this is a social media site where robots, AI bots, no humans are allowed, supposedly, and there are just a bunch of bots talking and having a conversation about God knows any number of things and topics that come up. Well, if that doesn't prove, and you know, last year, or maybe it was the year before, I'm pretty sure it was last year, probably about the same time this time last year, OpenAI had 2 iPhones that they grabbed, this iPhone and that iPhone, and they had voice and they were talking to each other. And so the point here is that whether or not they make their own language or they're on a social media blog post, bots are now talking amongst themselves. And there's this whole other social thing that's happening, an agentic social thing that's happening. To Sean's point, you'll have to convince the robot now. Now you've got, you know, all of the social issues that are with our children and as adults, maybe on LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. And we have this whole adjacent world of now robots in this social scenario. So now we've got everything compounded twofold. So just crystal ball, if you're in B2C, this is going to be another layer of challenges for you to monitor and overcome, because if B2B, not saying it's not going to happen, but I think B2C is more so. And that's because of this OpenClaw Moltbook thing or Moltbot thing, because this is mostly on the consumer side or users, making it easier for users. And as a version of this hits, you know, the more enterprise level, then this is going to start to just continue to expand. But just wanted to know, these are all of the challenges that we're currently facing, but at a much larger scale.
Yep. So that Moltbook is a really good example of the systemic problem you have. Because if you make enough of your users and customers upset, and those people do have bots, and those bots are sharing amongst themselves, their job is to make their user happy. So if 10, 20, 15% of other bots say, hey, my user was really upset with that brand, that is going to be systemic across all the bots. So I can't emphasize this enough. This is so weird. You're going to have to make AI happy. If it doesn't, you're going to lose customers. And so let's just show an example of the difference between how it is now and how it's going to be. So you have a legacy brand. You're expecting somebody to search and find or click on an ad, find what they're wanting, add it to cart. Maybe they have to create an account and pay. You're going to put a CAPTCHA in because, again, you're going to prove that you're not a robot, right? And then you're going to check out, right? I know it's so bad, 12 minutes, but you got to understand in the world that we're moving towards, that 12 minutes I can spend watching, 2 or 3 YouTube videos. What are the younger generation going to be interested in? Spending all the time shopping, not in a mall, because that doesn't happen. Not even shopping on their phone, they're going to want to do. They're just going to say, hey, look for this. And when the bot comes back, it's going to find everything and say, hey, I think you should buy this, and this is the reason why. And then it's milliseconds. They can look at it and say, okay, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Good bot, and buy it. Or no, I don't like the price. I don't like this. Maybe they say, I don't like the price. And it's going to come back and say, hey, I've been looking and checking on this every month for the past 18 months. This is the cheapest spin, right? So price is going to be everything. Experience is going to be everything. And your ability to capture your customer is going to be taken away. And this is why everybody needs to be aware. This is the tea leaves. Now, this isn't today. This isn't tomorrow. But, ClaudeBot, Moltbot, OpenClaw, whatever its name is, the owner of that was just hired by OpenAI. OpenAI hired the chief designer of the iPhone to come and build an iPhone replacement. If you can't put those 2 different buckets together and see that this is what they want, this is the world that they want to bring forth, you better check, because very important.
It's definitely coming this year. I said it's definitely going to be coming this year. This stuff is just happening so quick. We hadn't even gotten into 2026, and we're now halfway through February, and just the last month and a half has happened so fast. I would not be surprised if this isn't a trouble by the end of the second quarter, somewhere in the third quarter, this starts to transition and happen. And the reason for that is there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure for those of you that are leaders in the leadership sector dealing in B2C or have retail, any type of e-commerce situation going on. You are going to see this entire industry transform this year, for sure.
So, this is all gravy. I just painted you the happy path. And Dave, you already talked about it, but this is a severe problem. So back in the day, iPhones were considered a security problem, right? Bring your own device, security problem. And then a whole bunch of security had to be built around it so that it was safe to do these things. All of that safety is not there yet, but people are still doing it. I want to be clear. The new Mac Mini was not selling well until this software came out. And you can run this and have a local large language model running on a Mac Mini, and they have just sold out. So people are they're buying a $500 Mac Mini, putting it on their desktop, calling them Bob, and Bob is your personal assistant, and they will tunnel into it and say, they don't even need to do that. You just pick up your phone and you have an instant message account with it, and you just talk to it. Hey, this is what I like, this is what I not like. And that person is working 24 hours a day. You're at the mall. Hey, take a picture, send it. Hey, I like this, right? oh, I just got a bill for this. I hate those people. It is zero friction. The problem is having AI with a tendency to hallucinate, have access to all your security. It can do two-factor authentication, David.
Yep. Well, you can chain them together too to literally start creating arrays of these Mac Minis together, and it's way worse than that.
So,
and that's why they're selling out, because geeks like me are taking 2 and 3 of these things and chaining them up and making like literally big hardware that normally you'd have to pay for in the cloud. And there's a lot of people doing this type of stuff. So just, yeah, I'm kind of at a loss for words of where and how crazy this is at the scale that it is at.
So the next thing is, what do you do about it? Now, we talked about MCP. If you don't have an MCP capability for bots to use, and you're not integrating with AI, and you're a brand, you need to seriously think about it, because it is the future that we're staring at. Again, not today, not tomorrow, maybe not this quarter, maybe not 2026, but soon it's going to be very important. And for the big names, you're going to see a lot more of it. But the second thing that I talk about with this is, how do you deal with it? Well, you start this concept of forgiveness as a service. You got to focus on your CX to being much more proactive and loyalty focused, right? You got to catch and understand what it is. You've got to educate people. If you have these systems, point them in this direction, because if you point them at your regular accounts, we're going to block you and you're going to have a bad experience. Really good example of this is people like myself, like David, were using OpenClaw and another one of our favorites, Claude Code, to effectively, and I did this and it's really fun until it stopped working. You could tell it, hey, I want you to build this, I want you to build that, I want you to test this, I want you to test that. And it would build code and compile it and run it, test it, give you reports back, and iterate, take features, and do work for you on your Claude Code account. But Claude Code, now they figured out how it works and how it's doing what it's doing, and it's stopping it. So, but that's only a short-term thing. At some point, all the brands, either somebody's going to let the camel into the tent, right? And so then the whole thing is going to be in there. There's going to be a big hole. Everybody is going to have to support these. So again, where should you focus on? Focus on giving a path, a controllable path for bots to work on, and that's your MCP. Number 2, focus on your CX quality and loyalty, because your loyalty is going to be your lifeblood, not an option. It's going to be your lifeblood.
Yeah, one of the things Sean and I do in our day jobs is we consult with a lot of people. And as long as you have an API to your system, the first thing you need to do is figure out what are your sensitive endpoints and eliminate them from the possibility of having a future part of this conversation. But my point here is that it's really easy to use automation tools, coding tools, Codex, Claude Code, etc., to create MCP servers from your APIs. And by feeding in your exclusion list, you can fast track that in a matter of, say, a couple of weeks to no more than 2 months, with a lot of automated testing, a lot of people. So it is not that far removed to take action sooner rather than later. These are actionable things that you can do. And Sean and I are definitely happy to help you out with that, even if it's just answering a few questions. We have lots of conversations with lots of people all of the time. And even though, Sean and I are here every Wednesday talking about this type of stuff, at the end of the day, I know a lot of you, especially from some of the comments that we've got, that you guys are still in the infancy ages or stages of AI. You're still trying to figure it out how to do it. Well, there's no other better time than to just jump in and take the plunge and get started, because the longer you wait, the worse that this is absolutely going to get. So just wanted to throw in there a quick selfless plug that, there is a path forward, and there are two guys standing in front of you right now, or sitting in front of you right now, that are ready to help you answer any of those questions, because it is a little daunting, and we definitely have a strong appreciation for that. Most of the people we talk to, 90%, I would say, are in that uncomfortable stage and still just trying to figure it out.
So great point. So what does this mean? We are moving from the generation of apps, the era of applications, apps on your phone, where you're trying to generate attention. I want to get people's attention, right? Moving it to the agent era, where it's about intention, right? So, hey, look at me versus, I want you to do this, right? So moving from, hey, we have an app for that, to we have an MCP for your personal assistant. And then from we're trying to acquire customers, we're trying to maintain permission, right? We want the door open. Otherwise, we're going to be left out in the cold. So the walls that people have been building with their walled gardens and moats, we talked about this recently about moats. They're all going away. The best thing to do is open a door, and when people walk through, you can check them at the door, right? You'll have a better understanding of your customer than forcing them through your gates. Allow them in with API, and then you'll be able to support them. So these are the things I want to talk about for the future. So I think in 5 years, everybody will have heard these concepts. But right now, this is just a prediction. MCP, that standard handshake, I think everyone is going to need to support it. AI, I'm sorry, AI is a thing. It's a thing. It's not going anywhere, right? This is like the cloud. When the cloud came, people were like, it's not going to be worth it. No one's going to do that. The security is bad. This is bad. Look, everything's in the cloud now. And AI is a thing, and it's going to remain a thing. So if you have a brand that you want customers, you're going to have to support the AI route. Agentic churn is going to be a thing. Literally, again, this is very hard for many people to understand. We've been trying to avoid bots from coming to our sites. Now we're going to try to avoid making them go away. I can't emphasize enough how much that is a 180. Helping AI provide logic to navigate what offers you have and why you have these offers is going to be important. If you are not tracking what the price is, they're going to do it for you, right? Right now, Amazon, they have their little coupon thing. I don't know if you know that, David. There's sometimes when you buy stuff, it has take another $3 off. That is how they're getting around robots, is putting those coupons in so that the numbers aren't accurate. Zero-click commerce. Pretty soon, you will never have customers' attention, or their attention is never going to be put on you. The best you're going to do is get a bot's attention.
Yep.
And then this zero standing privileges, being able to let a bot in to do a particular thing and let it go, And granting those permissions and controlling what bots can do is going to be a big part of what we're doing in the future. And these are all predictions today, but that's what we're doing with this series. And I really appreciate everyone's time. If you got to the end of this, want to go through and kind of give you a glimpse of the future of what we're seeing with this new technology. David?
Yeah, and to just kind of to add one little piece of information for those of you, because again, Sean and I do get questions from lots of you, and even if it's not through the podcast, even just our day-to-day about model context protocol. A lot of leaders don't know. I mean, they've heard the buzzword, they barely understand it. I just want to break down really quick how or what you should do to think about this if you're a leader and you're not a technical person. So the model context protocol is essentially like the concierge at your place of business, irregardless whether you're retail or your services or whatever it is you're doing. And its point is for robots to interact with it. And so what you need to build or tell your technical people to build is that concierge service high-end type of overview. In other words, there should be an initial welcome routine that says, hey, hi, welcome to whoever you are. These are the services that we offer. And what that means is these are a bunch of functions that this MCP server can do for your business. That communicates to the other bot that's using it how to interact with it. And one of the mechanisms you need to include is feedback, because these things are highly intelligent. So if the robot on behalf of Sean is coming to my whatever service shop to do whatever, maybe he's got a broken Jeep Wrangler or something and he needs a part. But I don't sell that type of part for that particular model year. The point is his bot's going to try to interact with me, the MCP server, in a way that says, hey, I'm looking for whatever. And it, rather than give up, it sees one of the methods in there is called like feedback. And it's the MCP server taking in requests. Hey, what were you trying to do? What function did you need that was missing, so that it can learn? Then an agent can go off and build that thing within like minutes or seconds, depending on how you do your CI/CD, and it can introduce that, or depending on, you know, the day, the age, the time, the year, that function can be made instantaneously. Hey, I need to do this function, but you don't have it here. Oh, well, let me create that for you. Give me a few minutes. And it'll put it like on pause or hold or whatever. That bot will go off. It'll build that functionality that's needed. Obviously, there's a bunch of security problems, but this is really where this is going. And this is what Sean was trying to emphasize here, and about that agentic churn. So if the robot can't complete the transaction, can't get what it needs to do, it's going to leave. It might mark you as uncooperative or less user-friendly. And you don't know what the metrics of the weight is. And eventually all things are going to boil down. I'm sure you're going to have a Siri-like agent on your behalf, or like a Moltbot or something or whatever that's going to be. And that's going to be the standing thing that everybody uses. Like, it's all going to sift out to the end of the day. And then you got to deal and contend with those big companies as the proxy humans. And now everything is agentic. So anyway, that's just a little bit to whet your palate, maybe encourage you guys to reach out, ask a few more questions, dig a little bit deeper. But in any event, Sean and I are here every Wednesday, so you can catch any of our episodes. You can go over to our website at the transformationleaderspodcast.com and just put that banner for you back up on the screen. And if you are interested in downloading anything you saw here today, scan that QR code. That'll take you to a live version of this presentation that you're seeing here today, and you can go through it on your own, share it with your colleagues, your friends, and then reach out to us. There's a form on our website. You can hit it up. It goes to both Sean and I at the same time. In any event, I'm out of breath and we're out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to join us every Wednesday here on the Transformation Leaders Podcast, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.